The following podcast has been rated PGN. Parental guidance is neglected.
Boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat.
I am your father.
Father, if you can hear me, I failed.
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I'm here with my dad.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I've abandoned my boy!
Welcome, everybody, to the PGN podcast. Parental guidance is neglected. The only podcast. And by the way, I say only podcast with absolutely no research or facts to back this up. It's simply a hunch, but I'm going to say we are the only father-son movie review podcast out there. If there is another one,
we're
Jackson,
also the only podcast.
We're the only.
This is
yes,
it.
That's.
This is it for
I don't know,
for everyone. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but last week Joe Rogan retired, and Adam Carolla has doing his last episode this week. So next week it's us and 5 Million Murder Podcasts. Do you listen to any murder podcasts, my son Jackson Burns here on the PGN podcast?
I have a real gripe with
murder?
those types of podcasts.
Do you have a hard time with murder? That's a hot take right
there. Got a real
Jackson.
gripe with murder. Yeah, I'm really not a big fan. No, those podcasts freak me out, and nothing against you if you like listening to that stuff, but it just feels so like, oh, we're making entertainment out of like a real person that literally died in this brutal manner. You know, it just feels. I'm like, oh, this is kind of distasteful in a way. I think it depends on the way you do it.
Yeah. I think time plays a big factor. I think when it's like a podcast of like, this was a unsolved murder from the early 17th century, where Jack the Ripper, and so when it's like this happened last year, like some guy drowned his wife off the coast of Costa Rica or whatever, you know, and it just.
I think there's more leeway with it when it's like, oh, we're looking at like a mystery that's like unsolved, like trying to digest, like here's all the information if you know anything, as opposed to just being like, here's a guy who got shot in the face. Yeah. It's just like, why? What's the value behind just
it's a little
listening to a story of how someone's wife killed him?
Do you know who who really likes all that murder stuff? Is your sister?
Who?
Your sister.
I know. All the true crime stuff on Netflix is popping off now too. They just pump those out.
Yeah, I read somewhere like women are the biggest viewership of those things too. I don't know what that says about society.
I have a lot of friends that listen to that type of stuff. I'm like, this is really bleak.
Bleak.
What a weird way to start your day. Like waking up in the morning and turn on like if I wake up in the morning and I listen to a podcast, it's like upbeat. It's bright.
You want good news, Jackson? You want self-affirmation?
Not even good news. I just like something funny just to start to kick the day off. Could you imagine waking up and being like, oh man, I'm taking a shower, just gonna turn on my favorite podcast. Brittany Marsalis was brutally murdered in her home at the age of 13. It's just like, why? Way to start off on the wrong side of the bed, I feel like.
Yeah, and why is the newscaster who's reporting that have such a nasal voice? That was a choice.
Wow.
Wow. Brittany, someone.
I think it was because I was doing this and I was doing my nose at the same time.
Oh yeah, I think you closed your nose.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I couldn't hear myself.
That voiceover guy needs a Claritin.
He does.
It's been a crazy week for us. Would you not agree? And it's going to get even crazier.
I would agree.
Yeah. So first off, our apologies. We know that this podcast is going up a few days late. So for all you people who were waiting to save your money on whether or not to buy tickets for Beast, we apologize. We'll see if you went out anyways and spent it wisely or not. But no, we've just had scheduling issues, and Jackson's had work, and I've been running around. So just a little forecast here. We got an action-packed show today. We got a lot of movie to talk about. And we're sending young Skywalker here, my son, back to school in 2 days. So he is headed back to university. I will also be heading up to Oregon this weekend for a big adventure race So crazy. 36 hours. Insane.
So crazy.
But looking forward to it. So we will not have an episode next weekend. That means we will be back the weekend after. We'll give Jackson a week or so to get settled into school and get his classes going and hopefully see maybe a movie or two if it fits in, and for me to recover from my race. And luckily there's really not a lot opening here in the later days this summer. This is kind of the dumping ground for studios.
Well,
now.
it's kind of unfortunate because the 1 week we're having off, it's the weekend that one of my most highly anticipated movies of the year is coming out.
And
I'm very, very excited for 3,000 Years of Longing.
Yeah, and by highly anticipated, he's the only one who's really heard of it or is looking forward to
I
it.
said by me.
Yeah.
I didn't say everyone.
Yeah.
I said by me. I want to see this movie. It intrigues me.
It's not a good sign that they're releasing this movie. Anything that's released now until probably maybe mid-October is usually what we call the dumping grounds. These are movies that either the studios are not particularly happy with how they turned out, or maybe they tested poorly, or they just don't seem to be resonating. That's not to say that we won't find a good film. We'll keep checking them out. But we.
I mean, to be completely fair,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like this has been a pretty weak summer. I really have not found much to.
Yeah, we touched on this.
Fall in love
we
with.
touched on this last week. It's really been kind of a. As you kids like to say, a mid. Did I say that right? Mid?
A midsummer. That's a good way of putting it. A
Midsummer.
midsummer.
Which, by the way, one of the worst films I've ever seen, and Jackson loves it. Just want to touch.
I don't love it. I like it. I think Hereditary is far superior, but.
Ugh, God, I will never watch Midsummer again. So we'll be back in a couple weeks, kind of to wrap up what they're bookending the summer with. Hopefully we'll see 3,000 Years of Longing. That's a kind of a new arty film. Looks like it's got a lot of effects in it, but it's Idris Elba.
You know what's really funny to me is that everyone keeps attaching the director's name to the movie, and I just have never heard it. Do you know who George Miller is?
Yes. Hello, George Miller. He did the Mad Max movies, including the reboot.
I feel stupid now,
Yeah.
but I was just like, who's this nobody who they're promoting on all the...
No.
Okay, well then I'm really excited. I like his stuff.
Yeah, he's. I think he's done some other stuff, but I think he's pretty much. You can look him up for me, young Jamie wannabe, on your end.
Oh, what the? He did Happy Feet and Babe.
Oh, maybe I have the wrong George person.
No, you have the right.
Okay.
He did Mad Max too, but he just also took a bit of a sidetrack to do.
He did Babe. Well, Babe is a fantastic.
Happy
That's
Feet.
one of the best family films of all time. I love Babe.
How to do, pig.
That'll do.
And he also did the sequel, Babe, Pig in the City.
Which, by the way, equally as good. Also,
really?
Yeah, it was a really good sequel. It really, really was.
I don't remember that one. I just remember that there was a dog that had like broken legs and was in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I remember from that movie.
You weren't really old enough to process all that at that point. So we'll revisit it. Maybe we'll watch that next week. When we come back, we got 3,000 Years of Longing. That's Cate Blanchett and or is it Tilda Swinton? No, it's Cate Blanchett.
It's
right?
Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton.
No, it's Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba and George Miller directing. Maybe we'll check out the vampire flick, The Invitation, and then the following week, Jackson already scrunching his nose at that one. The following week, it's even really more slim pickings. Some monkey and a boy in a wheelchair movie called Gig and Nate. I think Gigi and Nate, maybe. I think,
I've never heard
that's
of
probably
that.
a pass. New movie.
I hope that halfway through it takes a really dark like Nope turn where the monkey just turns on the kid.
Oh, wouldn't that be?
That's my hope.
I don't think
for the movie.
I've seen the trailer.
You don't think so?
I have a feeling it's not
You
going.
don't think so?
No, I think a lot of
I know.
I think a lot of valuable life lessons are going to be learned.
Oh, well, I hope so.
Yeah, and then there's another movie opening up that I know. I think Jordan Peele produced it, maybe, and I know Daniel. What's his name? Kaluuya.
Kaluuya.
Yeah, I think he produced it as well. It's called Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. Looks like a bit of a mockumentary with Sterling K. Brown and I forget the actress's name, but it's about a ministry. I don't know, maybe. And then you know what? You know what else is opening in a couple weeks or later this week? Is Jaws is being re-released in 3D and on IMAX. So that might be kind of fun to see as well. Also, when we return, it'll be time for you guys to pick an absolutely horrible, horrible film that is so bad you're going to force us to watch it.
Isn't that this week?
No, this week was the good film. Yes.
No, I'm saying we're picking it this week though. We have to pick the bad film this episode, right?
Yeah, and it's already been done and picked. I've picked it for you. I've
okay. The way you said it, I thought you were saying that we were doing it next episode.
Oh no, the next episode I'm just teasing and getting all the stuff. So we don't have to do it at the end.
Gotcha, right.
People know what we're going to be doing over this 2-week hiatus. John Krenus, one of our most devoted listeners, and boy, John, I hope I said your name correctly. I believe it's Krenus. He's been pushing for a bunch of different films, good and bad. We're going to take his choice. He says this is the perfect film to accompany one of our favorites so far, The Apple, the 1970 musical. He says this is the bookend of that. This is another musical from 1974 called The Phantom of the Paradise. Now, I actually do kind of remember this film. I know I never saw it, but I definitely remember the trailer and hearing about it, mostly because it was written and directed by this guy named Brian De Palma.
Why did Brian De Palma
I don't know.
do this?
I have a feeling we're going to do a little research on this. I mean, Brian De Palma, who went on to be one of the bigger and most lucrative and prolific directors of the late 70s and the 80s and some in the 90s. I'm trying to think. The Untouchables, Body Double. He did a ton of great films. Scarface. So we're going to check out the musical with Paul Williams called The Phantom of the Paradise. Jackson's just staring at his phone.
I'm just so intrigued that Brian De Palma did a fantasy horror musical.
Yeah. So he says if we love The Apple, which Jackson and I hated so much we loved, he says you have to see The Phantom of the Paradise. So we got a lot packed up for you in the 2 weeks that we're off. So wish me luck in Oregon, Jackson. I wish you luck your first week back to school. What are you most excited to get back to? The people, the classes, getting away from us. What is it?
All three.
All three.
Equally, probably.
Equal, you son of a...
The experience.
Look at you.
It will be nice. Look, I love you guys to death. It will be nice to have my own kind of space again, like my own apartment.
Listen, I told you, it's like you move out of home and then suddenly you move back for 2 months, and it doesn't feel right. Something's a little off.
Yeah.
I used to have all this independence, and now it's like, why are you asking me where I'm going?
Right, well,
because you're kind of here. But welcome to what we call the transition period. See, then the next transition period will be,
happy to be here,
when you graduate from college and you come back here, and I will be the one going, when are you leaving?
When are you leaving?
Yeah. How long now do you think you're staying? Now
right.
We're like,
what's the over-under?
Yeah. So how's that job search coming?
There
you have it. We did. What did we watch together? I think out of all the films, we watched 2 of them.
We watched 2 of them.
Well, one and a half. I had to finish Godzilla later.
We watched 13 Lives together.
13
as
Lives.
a family, actually. That was all of us.
Yeah.
Well, Killian, I think, dipped out halfway through.
Yeah. She got bored and had to talk to a boyfriend or something. So
yeah, and then we watched Shin Godzilla on my birthday, and then you had to leave early. So you watched the ending of it separately.
Yeah. 13 Lives we'll start with then. For those who have not seen it yet, it has been out on Amazon Prime now for, I believe, a week or 2 at least. It's had a limited run in some theaters. I think they probably only did that just so it will be considered for Oscar nominations. What do you think about that, Jackson? So many films are being released on streaming now, but still, technically, they have to show in a theater. So what the Netflix and Amazon and Apple TV are doing is they'll release it in maybe New York, LA, Chicago for one weekend, put it up on a couple screens. Few people might go, I'll go see it on a big screen, and then that's it. You can't see it in the theaters anymore. And that's all they have to do. Is that stupid that they have to do that? Should they just be like, look, we're in a day and age now where any movie, whether it's been in a theater per se, is eligible? Or are you like, no, you want to be up for an Oscar, you got to be in a movie theater at least for a short period of time. What are your thoughts? Hot take, Jackson.
Okay, I have two perspectives. I think it's stupid that films have to be in a theater to be considered for an Oscar now, just because streaming. I know there's like the pretentious like you have to see the movie on the big screen, but as a society we move past that. As much as I know these like old head directors want to keep that, and I love seeing movies in the theater. I'm a big theater guy. People just aren't in that mindset anymore, and we got to start thinking forward. All right, like because. Like you said, people are just using these cop-outs where it's like, oh, we'll just throw it up on a big screen in a couple small, like, or big cities, I guess.
Right.
And call it a day. So I think it's just, we're at this weird in-between where it's like, yeah, they're just kind of showing it a few times and then it's leaving and then everyone just watches it at home anyways.
Right.
So I think it's a dumb thing to have to do. But I also think that if you're going to put your movie in theaters, go all out or not at all. Like, you know, if you're making something and you feel like it needs to be on the big screen, then show it where it needs to be. Show it everywhere. Why not?
I think
because people, you know.
I think the problem is though it costs money for the studios to put those films up in those theaters. They have to pay for the theaters.
Right, but if you're going for an Oscar, then you probably have enough money to put it in a theater. Is my opinion.
That I don't know. That's a number thing, but I think the problem is that most people are not going to go see 13 Lives in a theater if they can get it on Prime in their home. So the ticket sales in the theaters are going to be very.
That's a good point because you can just.
Low. So
yeah, it's weird. I have a lot of thoughts on the whole streaming situation, but
right.
Overall, I think that Oscar-wise, we've reached a point where it's like, come on, you know, like it's time to move on. We're moving forward a little bit.
Right. Well, with that said, I think it's fair to say that the first Oscar bait film of the year is director Ron Howard's movie 13 Lives. It is a dramatic retelling of the incident in, which country? Was it Singapore?
Taiwan.
It was Taiwan.
Let me triple check that before. I shouldn't have said that so confidently.
You said it very confidently, and someone's going to write you like, you idiot. About the soccer team, the
Thailand.
Thailand. It's Thailand. Look at you, aren't you?
I had the first letter correct.
There you go. The 12 soccer kids and their coach, 13 Lives, who were caught in the cave, and then the nearly month-long rescue to get them out. It is, I would say, first and foremost, a technical mastery in filmmaking. It's definitely the type of film that when you watch it, you can't help but sometimes go, and I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, but you can't help but go, how did they do that?
Yeah.
It stars Viggo Mortensen, Colin Farrell, and Joel Edgerton as mainly the three guys who helped put together the rescue and made the plan of anesthetizing and putting them under anesthesia.
Yeah.
To get these boys through there. Viggo Mortensen, once again, good Lord. He's just so, I mean, as much as I hated him in Crimes of the, what was that?
Future.
The Future that we
Crimes of the Future.
He goes and redeems himself immediately with a really, really good understated performance here. Him and Colin Farrell, you could almost believe, and Joel Edgerton, could almost believe they were those guys. This is a movie, I think that in the wrong hands with the wrong director, it could have been very melodramatic and over the top, and it seemed almost in a way very scientific, the breakdown of how they did it. I enjoyed it very much. I have a few more thoughts, but Jackson, what's your initial thoughts of 13 Lives?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that you know, as much as I do love Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen, I think the real star of this movie was the production design and the cinematography, just because, I mean, they really had to recreate an entire mountain and rescue team and underwater caves and water everywhere. It really, it's just crazy to think of how those reconstructions were and all that. And I also agree. I mean, you know, I'm a massive Colin Farrell fan. I love him to death, and I think that him and Viggo Mortensen paired with each other very well. Overall, I just think this was a really good. You know, I guess, what do you call it? It's not a biopic because it's not really about one person. Would you call it a biopic? A true story movie?
I would call it a true story reenactment film.
Yeah, true story reenactment film. Right. It was very good. You know, I don't think I was crazy about this. I wasn't going away like, oh my god, that was insane. But right. I did enjoy the time I was watching it, and it is a very interesting story and how they they got those kids out of that cave.
Yeah, I agree with you. The real star of the film is the production itself, the set designers, the crew. I like the fact that director Ron Howard and all the stars of it seem to respect the fact that they are not the stars of the story or the film, and they wanted to tell the story pretty cut and dry. I got to just all the scenes, just the amount of water that had to be pumped in, and when they're siphoning off the water from the sides of the mountains to fill the sinkholes, and it's always a good sign that you've done a good job with a film when we all know the outcome of the story. It's like, and yet it's still very suspenseful. Like you know they're going to be rescued. I'm not spoiling anything here unless you've had your head in a cave for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it wasn't that long ago. But even though you know the outcome, you're still, oh my God, it's like, yeah, we know the Titanic's going to sink, but we're still like, oh my God.
I think that one of the things that I wanted more of was the kids, because we get, really this movie is more about the process of rescuing them, but I kind of wanted a bit more of an insight of because they were in the cave alone for what, right. 10, 13 days straight?
Oh no, dude, for like a month. It was a long time.
Before anyone came and saw them.
Right. Yes.
Alone, no one, they didn't know anyone was coming for them.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
A period of 13 days. And I kind of wanted to be like, what was happening during that time? Like, what was it? Right. What was the conditions like? What were and to be fair, that could have been a choice that was made by the filmmakers to be like, hey, we want to be respectful of the the victims. They just weren't comfortable seeing it on the big screen. Totally fine. That's just something that I wanted to see more of as a viewer.
Right. I think, in their defense, I think there's really only room to tell one of two stories here. You either tell the story of how they survived inside, or you tell the story of how they were rescued. And I think this is absolutely 100% about the rescue and what the science of going into that. Also, I think...
Hey, well, maybe the movie about the same story that'll come out in just a bit will do that a little better.
Yeah, I remember I saw the trailer for the other one, and I think it's called The Cave, and I was like, I was like, what? Where is Viggo Mortensen? Why is this? It's suddenly subtitled, and I'm like, oh, they're actually doing two movies about the same story. I feel so bad. I wonder if it was one of those rushes to which one's going to get out first. You guys got to hurry up and edit. Yeah. You've got to hurry up and put this together because we got to beat the other one to the pass. I don't think you could have told both stories. And also, I think it would be hard to tell a story of 14 days in a cave, pitch black. I don't think they had.
No, true.
They'd be like, how do we light this? Because they don't have anything to see. So
that is a good point. I just wanted to know what was going through their, what the process was like a little bit more from their side. But what are you feeling about this? What are you feeling score-wise?
It's weird. It's one of the best films I've seen this year, but I can probably, unless something goes horribly off the rails, tell you I doubt it'll be in my top 10 at the end of the year. At least I'm hopeful.
I sure hope so.
But
I like this, but I really hope there's more.
Right now, it's up there with everything that I've seen in 2022. I love the fact that the acting was very understated and believable, and it just looked like they had really created these very low-key characters, and it wasn't over melodramatic in the acting in any way. The production value is amazing. I think it's going to get a lot of Oscar nominations on the technical side, as far as production and sound and mix and all that. And that is the star of the film. And sometimes maybe, as an actor, I would have liked a little bit more of that. You don't need it in this type of film. For what it is, I'm going to give 13 Lives a B+.
All right. And I'm going to agree with you pretty cut and dry and give this a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Well, which is a C for you.
Which would not be a C. It would be a 7 out of 10.
Just mark that. That's a C for Jackson.
And just make sure right next to that you put in parentheses 7 out of 10 so that they know that what that actually means is not the case.
Yeah. Here at the PGN podcast, we turn to you guys to make us watch movies that are so good, how could we have missed it? Or movies that are so bad that you want to force us to watch them because you had to suffer it. Buddy of mine from high school, David Allen, very nice guy, I put out the feelers, guys, give me some great films, and I knew he was a buff. He came back with a ton of them. We ended up picking a 2016 movie called Shin Godzilla. To be honest with you, I'm still not sure what the Shin is, and I haven't really researched it there, young Jackson. But
I
don't know if you have it.
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure what Shin means. Is this a Godzilla flick? Yes, it is. Is it a different kind of Godzilla flick, as David promised? It most definitely is. Directed by Hideki Anno, who I think Jackson has heard of before. I have not.
I had no idea last episode when you announced this movie, but the guy who directed this wrote, created, and I think partially directed an animated series from Japan that I'm a massive fan of. One of my favorite shows of all time. So I knowing that, I kind of came in a lot more excited for this. I'm really glad I picked this because he really is a fantastic world builder. At least in the show that I saw, and so I came in with a much more like this is going to be something big,
right.
Bigger than just a Godzilla movie.
Right. As someone who has seen my fair share of Godzilla movies, because I would watch them when I was younger, I was never a massive fan of the Godzilla franchise. There have been so many reiterations.
I can agree with that.
There's been so many reiterations from Japan itself. There's been American versions. Obviously, we just had a string of them released with Millie Bobby Brown, and then there was the horrific one with Matthew Broderick and Hank Azaria back in the 90s. Although we've never quite, I think, stuck the landing with Godzilla films over here, the people who are into them really do relish and admire all the different iterations that have come out of Japan. With that said, David recommended this movie in that he said it was kind of almost a completely different monster movie than what they normally are, and that is correct. The difference being, this was, despite all the camera trickery, and there is a lot of it, boy, did I get massive Wes Anderson vibes.
It's very. I know you don't know this, but the scenes that you're talking about are pretty much straight out of his TV show. The score is the same. It's very anime style.
Right.
Cinematography, I guess.
A lot of very dramatic angles, a lot of moving dollies, a lot of technical trickery. But the thing that makes Shin Godzilla different from most monster movies is that it's really told from the perspective of the bureaucracy and the politics of handling a monster attack. At times it kind of goes for the comical and maybe takes a little bit of a serious turn at the end when it gets to more international relationships. But a lot of it has to do with the mechanisms of Prime Minister working with the Department of Defense, working with the Department of Agriculture, working with the nuclear people. There's a lot of blame, finger pointing, people who don't want to. So it's a bit jarring, but interesting at first to see, going back from the typical Godzilla stomping through a city back to scenes involving chairmen and people walking meeting to meeting. And I got the joke of it right away that we're gonna have to cancel this meeting and meet in the West Wing. And they would all walk over to the East Wing of the building, and they would have another meeting with this guy, and they go, well, let's have a meeting over here. There was certainly a lot to be said about the what's the word I'm looking for? The mismanagement in government and the red tape and the what would actually happen if this did. How would they handle everything? I think I found it interesting. I also think I found it a bit tiresome after a bit. What about you?
Yeah, so first of all, I think as a concept, this is a very strong idea. Because as far as the American Godzilla movies that I've seen, the recent ones, you get to the point where it's how did Millie Bobby Brown end up in charge of this entire operation?
Right.
How did we get here? So to see a more, I guess, as stupid as it sounds, realistic and grounded approach to doing a monster movie like this, I definitely think it has a really good idea and good concept. I do agree with you. I think that it started to drag on a little bit, especially towards the end. But I did really enjoy the more realist look at a situation like this. The one scene that comes to mind is like, because the whole trope is Godzilla stomping through the city. That's always been the big thing.
Right.
But there's one scene in particular where there's a family who's like in the building and they're curling a baby and just terrified, and they die. Like, they just straight up get killed, and it's like, oh, like, this is the reality of what would actually happen,
right,
if for some reason Godzilla were real.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I did like the idea of like, oh, we're bringing America into this and kind of having them come in and help, but what are their real motives? Are they trying to steal this for themselves? A lot of intriguing and complicated concepts that I think would have been done in a shorter version of this movie. I think it could have been cut down quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think that they really hammered in the meetings and all that, and I was like, it's to a certain point, I was like, okay, we know, we understand what's happening, we get the bit, we got to move on with the plot a little bit. But yeah, that's about my take as far as this goes. This is definitely, in comparison to his other work that I've seen, Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's not even close as far as I guess plot goes.
Right.
But yeah.
I get it. He's trying to honor the history of these types of films, and he does. He's got, especially the last third, we get a lot of, how they take Godzilla.
And the score, I think he was reusing a lot of the original Godzilla score as well throughout the film, if I'm not mistaken.
What'd you think of that last shot of the tail that, like, teased a sequel with something growing out of his tail? Like, did you catch that?
I did, like the people coming out of his tail.
Yeah, like that's the sequel. That Godzilla is asexual, or is now going to create little hybrid human Godzillas, or I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think I need a sequel.
Yeah.
I think that yeah. I don't think this is the kind of franchisable movie.
Yeah,
I think it's too cut and dry to have that, like, Godzilla's gonna be back and he's gonna be bigger than ever. It's like, no, like when you're doing a more serious take at it, it's kind of a one and doneer.
Yeah, and it's been 6 years since this film, so it doesn't seem like they're rushing.
I don't see any.
They don't seem to be rushing to get that out. David, I think a very excellent choice. I have a feeling that we didn't maybe quite care for it as much as you did, but it was fascinating to see a different take on that type of film. I do agree with Jackson. I think it outwore its welcome a little bit. I got the idea, within the first 45 minutes of just how much misinformation was being spread between departments and working together, and then the whole international thing of getting France and the USA to work together. But it for me, it wore a little thin by the end, and I was Godzilla'd out. I'm gonna give it a C, Jackson. Shin Godzilla.
And I'm going to give Shin Godzilla a 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay. So that's an F for you.
First of all, that would be a D.
Oh, yeah.
And so already we're off. But
dude, we're very. Go ahead.
We've been pretty agreeable today so far. I'm hoping we keep up the streak. We'll see.
We're very, very much in line. And then the last movie that we both saw this week. Because then I saw some of
not together, but we both did see this movie.
It was the big film that opened this weekend. We talked a little bit about Idris Elba's new movie next week, 3,000 Years of Longing.
Before we get into this movie, I do want to say I had my last weekend at AMC.
Wait a minute, you have a disclaimer?
No, it's not a disclaimer. This is just more of a sidestep.
Oh yeah.
It was my last weekend working at AMC. I'm no longer a movie theater employee
for now,
but I will say, as Beast was filling seats, there were people to go see Beast this weekend. But the biggest movie, at least in my theater, was the Dragon Ball Z movie.
Yeah, which one?
We'll never see because look, not to disrespect that franchise, but it's been gone for years and I have no clue what it's about.
Did you sit in?
Here's the thing, though. I did a lot because I was like, you know what? It's filling seats. People are enjoying this. I want to see what it's about. And I watched so much of that movie because I was working 2 days in a row for 6 hours. Right. I was in and out. I have no clue what is happening there. So much of that movie I saw. Yeah. And it was so far apart from me. But my theater did 2 separate screenings. There was Theater 2 and Theater 3 were both reserved, I guess, for Dragon Ball Z, and one theater was showing the dubbed version, and one was showing the subbed version.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting?
It's a Japanese film. Is it in Japanese?
Yeah. It's anime. It's anime.
Right.
So it's Japanese. And for some reason, the subbed movie theater goers, cleanest people on earth, cleaned up after themselves.
Really?
I walked in. It was like no one had been there.
Right.
The dubbed version people were like they had never been out of their house. Just did not know how to act. Popcorn everywhere.
Really?
Stuffing cardboard, but like their cardboard food boxes into the seats. It was like, what kind of weird psychological warfare is this? Where I'm just going in between theaters, listening to two different languages being played with two very different people. I guess
the people who saw the subtitled version left you a neat theater. Maybe it's because they were so concentrated reading the entire time.
Yeah, you think so?
Right. But if it's
they just didn't have the manpower to
But
to
if
make a
if
mess.
it's dubbed and you can kind of hear it, you kind of check out a bit, and you're just blah. Who cares about my Twizzlers and Red Vines? And you're just throwing stuff. I don't know. I wonder what that is.
But yeah, I watched so much of that movie. I watched the end credit scene probably a million times, and I just could not tell you what it was about.
You just didn't,
where it takes place, what year.
Did it have one
of
one of those Avengers end credit scenes where everyone in the audience cheered because they were seeing something that you didn't know? Like, oh, it's Doushi Moran, the motorcycle guy.
The first time I saw the end credit scene, I was a bit confused. I was like, I don't know what's happening. But I did catch a glimpse at to what it was referring to. I guess at some point is a bit where it's like, these two characters are going to go into like a friendly brawl and see like who will win. And then at the end credit scene is them and they're still fighting and one of them finally wins.
Yeah, I don't think anyone gives a crap about any of this. Yeah.
No, I just thought it was funny that those two theaters had such
that
a
is weird.
experience.
So educated people who can read and appreciate foreign films are clean. Dumb Americans who need dubbed are pigs and slobs. Actually,
pigs and slobs, yep.
Actually, you know what? That doesn't shock me as much.
Doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
Now that you said it like that, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, while the anime fans were over in one theater destroying it in Dragon Ball Z, Jackson and I both saw Idris Elba fight a CGI lion in the new action-packed... let's not go crazy. The new action film, Beast.
Yes.
I remember when we saw the trailer, Jackson, we were like, this is Jaws on land. I want to express my apologies to Steven Spielberg and Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider
Go ahead and rescind that.
and Robert Shaw for ever comparing one of my favorite films, Jaws, to Beast. This was not...
I was telling Mom I think they really missed a marketing opportunity by not calling this movie Pause. I think that just would have been... I feel like that, like, it's there, it was handed to them.
And they just let it go.
And they dropped the ball.
If you haven't seen the trailer yet, Idris Elba is taking his two daughters on a safari not too long after the recent passing of their mother, who was already estranged wife to Idris Elba. There's a lot of friction between the two girls and the father. Of course, they have a good friend in the safari since... I believe his deceased wife used to be a photographer and work in Africa a lot as well. I don't want to get into the plot too much because, to be honest with you, I pretty much already have. There's a lion on the loose whose entire pride, I guess his entire pride was killed by poachers, so now the lion has decided to kill every human being it sees because that's the way lions are.
Well, not just that, but also track down them after they escape and you know, make sure to keep just never giving up.
So you know what? This is what Beast. I apologize for comparing it to Jaws. What I should have compared it to is Jaws: The Revenge, the fourth sequel to Jaws, where the shark comes after the family of Brody. So yeah, this is a lion with a vendetta. Thankfully, it's not very long. I think it clocks in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So at least we didn't get dragged into something that just went on and on and on. Couple maybe suspenseful moments usually involved when they're. It feels like half the film they're stuck in a car. Very Jurassic Parky of getting knocked from both ends. I think my biggest, and I don't think this would have saved the movie, Jackson, but I think the one thing that was just the hardest is just how fake the lion looks. What did you think of the CGI work?
Here's my thing I'll say about the CGI. This is actually my one positive note on the movie.
Really?
Was that I thought the lions looked very good.
Wow.
Until the big end fight with Idris Elba, because I don't know if you noticed this, it was pretty damn obvious to me, but there's a moment where Idris Elba just turns into a CGI person.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not there. He's full CGI.
They're both CGI.
And it's pretty damn obvious because it's very bad and not noticeable.
Yeah. I don't think you're giving anything away to say there's a big fight between him and the lion, because even in the trailer there's a shot of him punching it real quick. And boy, when that scene ended, I was like, wow, that was the finale. I was like, oh. There wasn't much to it. It was a cartoon. It was a cartoon.
Yeah. And I will say this too, that because I've been cleaning theaters, I did see the last scene of the movie before I saw the full film. Mm-hmm. And in the last scene, they pretty much give away the entire plot in like 2 sentences. So I knew pretty much all the hits coming in. Not that I wouldn't have foreseen them anyways.
Right, yeah.
Here's my biggest problem with this movie is, I don't know why, but they do the one shot, like the one long shot thing.
What do you mean?
Like, so, I don't know if you noticed that, but like almost every scene was a fake one take, where it was like, oh, we're holding on one shot for such a long time. I mean, like, they did it a million times throughout the movie, where it was like, oh, this shot's going to be like 5 minutes long, and we're going to hide so many hidden cuts in it. Like 1917 almost, but split up, I guess.
I didn't notice.
It majorly took me out. Well, exactly. You didn't notice. And It took me a while to notice too, but once I did, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Normally with long shots I can see the edits. It's usually through a doorway or something. They want you to think.
I did see the edits.
You could, yeah. Where it's like,
I could see the edits.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a film, and I get it was to build suspense, but when you're doing a film like that, and the whole thing is like shot like that, you take away all levels of suspense. Like the one shots that I love, like the one in Goodfellas, like the classic one where he's going through the restaurant. It's so perfect because you get to see the intricacies of everything. It's impressive. It makes you feel immersed. There's a million other versions of that.
Right.
And this was just like, what the like? Why? What do you? This is so much style for so little reward.
Yeah.
Basically no reward at all. And it just pissed me off. I was like, this is so pretentious. You fucking asshole cinematographer want to do something cool for your thing, and it just didn't come out. And dear God, is every character in this movie so unlikable. There were moments where I was like, just kill the kid. Honestly, if the lion just bit her head off right now, I wouldn't really mind.
Why do they always get out of the car? You're just
why do they always get out of the car?
What is with kids and why do they?
Why do they always bring up the dead mom at the worst times? They'll be in the middle of like, wait, where's the lion? And then one of the girls will be like, you're the reason mom died.
Right.
And it's just like, whoa. You
gotta get some drama.
Went from 0 to 100 real quick. But yeah, poorly written, poorly acted.
What did you think?
Schlock.
What did you think of Idris Elba? I mean, did you find him bad? You said, did you not like his character? Were you? I
don't think his character was well written. I think he did the best with what he was given.
Right.
But definitely not one of his stronger performances. I think that my favorite character was the tour guy, I guess is what you call him, whatever, the guy who worked on the reservation.
Right.
And look, he was over the top too, but at least he was likable. Yeah. I didn't have a reason to dislike him. He wasn't whiny. He liked animals. I was like, you know what, this is a good person.
Right.
I can get behind this.
He was an anti-poacher. He would go out and try to stop poachers. It was funny because after you saw the movie, we weren't talking about it. We saved this for the PGN podcast, but you were talking about like, you were like, I don't know if I've ever even liked Idris Elba in anything. And immediately I was like, no. Idris Elba is a fantastic actor. And for me, I'm always going to remember Idris the most from The Wire, the TV show that put him on the map, where he was phenomenal. But then I started thinking, well, what else has Idris Elba done that? And so I looked up his films, and I didn't realize how much shit he's done. He was in Prom.
And I haven't seen any of his good stuff.
Listen to this. He was in Prom Night, all the Thor movies that sucked, Ghost Rider sequel, Spirit of Vengeance, Prometheus, Pacific Rim, The Dark Tower, which was a huge tank, Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. He was in Cats. He has done a lot of really bad films. I know he's had a couple little art films here and there that he's gotten notice of, but none of them were really big, huge.
Yeah,
you know,
nothing that I had seen at least.
I mean, I liked him. I liked him in Suicide Squad. I enjoyed that, I think, more than you did. And you know, he was in The Losers, which was good. But man, he has, good Lord, done a lot of crap.
I don't know what is. Yeah. I don't know what has happened with him, but it's just not.
Maybe he's just bitter he doesn't get to be the next James Bond. And now he's like, well, I'm just going to do anything I want then. You guys don't want to give me the good stuff? I'm going to take whatever you want. Beast is a bad film. Again, it was in focus, and I do like Idris, and, you know, he's a great leading man. He saves this movie from being anything worse than what I'm giving it, and I'm giving it a good solid D. Jackson?
I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really low.
Yeah. It's
I would have gone 3 if I did a number scale. I don't. Yeah. I don't think anybody is. Are they?
Well, if I were to give this movie a D, according to you, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
See how these things don't translate?
Yeah. I was almost hoping that while I was watching the film, there might be somebody in the row in front of me, like looking at inappropriate videos on their cell phone.
Do you want to tell that story?
You tell that story.
Okay, so last night we went to go see a comedy show at the historic the Groundlings, the historic comedy improv club. I guess is that how you say it?
It's not a club. It's a comedy theater. Yeah.
Theater. Yeah, that's the way of putting it. And went to go see the black version, one of our favorite shows to go see there. It's a traveling. They travel around, right?
They're mostly here in LA, but they'll go and do festivals sometimes across the country. Yeah.
Yeah. But this great show called the Black Version. Go check it out if you're in the area. But as we're waiting to, I guess, for the show to start.
Yeah.
Me and my dad are kind of looking around the audience, and it's a very small theater, very small, packed together.
99 people. Yeah.
So if you're on your phone in front of someone, like in the row in front of someone, they can see what you're doing.
Right.
And I look over, and the guy in front of us is on Snapchat, saving videos of his girlfriend who is sitting right next to him.
Well, first off, we don't know if
it's his girlfriend. I'm making an assumption here,
right? And we don't know it was his girlfriend because her face wasn't in any of the videos.
Yeah, it was just
it was videos, several videos, all of a woman pleasuring herself.
Yeah, and he's just kind of scrolling through and saving them in the chat because it's over Snapchat. So if it doesn't save them, they're going to disappear.
Wow, and
we saw it at the same time and kind of did one of those like look at each other like,
what the hell?
What is going on? What is going on here? What did I just stumble upon?
And then we found out later after the show that your sister, who was with us, and her boyfriend also saw it.
Also saw too. It wasn't just us. Yeah. So it wasn't just like the media behind. It was everyone in the vicinity.
He was holding his phone up. It wasn't even like he was hiding it. And he had a stranger sitting directly next to him. And this is a packed 99-seat theater. I mean, it was really awkward. And then he did it. And then he went back and did it again.
Again? He did it twice.
Yeah, like to make sure they were saved or to double click them or to study them. It was so weird. So weird. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of person does that. But that's just interesting little anecdote there for
that would have made Beast a lot better.
That would have made Beast a whole lot better.
That's
a great point.
Had that happened, yeah.
Had that occurred.
Yeah. It's the PGN podcast, the only podcast that talks about masturbation videos and top box office releases. Releases. I can't even get the word out.
That was good. Yeah.
In the same program. Real quick before we wrap things up, I did see a few films on my own, as did Jackson. Some of the bigger ones that came out, and I'm not going to dwell on them, but I'll give you a rundown. The best one, here's what's weird, Jackson, is I'm going to kind of put all three of these films got the exact same grade.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I watched the Predator prequel, Prey, which is on, I believe, Hulu. I watched that this week, directed by Dan Trachtenberg. He did 10 Cloverfield Lane. He's done a couple episodes of The Boys and Black Mirror. The girl that stars in this, Amber Mid-Thunder, and the young gentleman, Dakota Beavers. It's all Native Americans in this cast. Apparently, they did a version of the film, since it takes place back in the times of the unsettled America, when Native Americans still had a claim here, rightfully so. And it's a very, very interesting twist on the Predator franchise. It's in the exact same vein as the first one. Several people in the woods forced to fight Predator. Except now it's kind of teen Native Americans. Nothing really reinventing the formula here, but it's done really well. And maybe I'm appreciating it a little bit more since there was so many horrible Predator sequels and Alien versus Predator. And they've tried to reboot the franchise so much that I do give this one credit for trying something brand new. A little weird to watch it in English because they all sound like mall kids. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a part of me that kind of wants to go back and watch the dubbed version, which is in the Native American language of the time. But excellent effort there. I'll give you my grade in a second. Two big, not big, but bigger releases that got some theatrical release. The first one is Emily the Criminal. Most people will know Audrey Plaza from Parks and Rec. This is kind of her big screen debut as a leading lady. The movie was directed and written by John Patton Ford. It's his first time behind the camera as a director for a feature.
She produced it as well, too, by the way.
Yeah, she did.
She produced it.
She did produce it. It is a very well done film. She's fantastic in it. A bit formulaic, and I don't know, maybe the premise of it, which is a woman who is forced into credit card crime and fraud because of the circumstances of not only just the way the world is right now, trying to get a break, but also maybe finding out what she's actually good at and made to do is interesting, if not maybe groundbreaking. And then the third film that got released this week, Fall, that is the apparently continuing the trend, Jackson, we talked about, of two girls in peril, and the whole movie.
Yeah, two women just in a place they should not be.
Should not be. Again, we had those movies with two girls underwater with a shark, and I feel like lately we got to strand a couple teenage girls and have them overcome something. This is about some rock climbing girls who decide to climb, I guess, I don't think it's true, but one of the tallest radio towers in the country. It's like the fourth largest structure in the U.S., according to them. Things go a little awry. Do not climb a rusty tower in the middle of the desert with no radio reception, and then get stranded there. How will they or will they not get down? Visually, obviously, this is a heavy CGI film, but it's done really well. The effects really cause a lot of vertigo. I do not recommend seeing this on a big screen if you don't do well with heights. However, if you're okay with heights, I actually highly recommend going to see this. This will not translate on a phone or a small TV. This is something you'd want to see on a big screen. I saw it with my daughter. She said a couple of the twists they take are rip-offs of previous films. I don't want to give anything away by saying which ones, but she's like, oh, they're pulling a blank, fill it in, like I've seen this before. Director Scott Mann, it's his first big feature film. It's definitely a fun film. Again, all these films are pretty short, so it doesn't outstay its welcome. But I find it a pretty entertaining diversion. So I'm giving Prey, Emily the Criminal, and Fall all a B-. They're just slightly above average films. So
interesting. Okay.
I think if you got a Movie Pass or you can see unlimited films, or you don't mind spending a few bucks, I would see all of them at a matinee and check out Prey on Hulu. Jackson, you saw
I also saw
3 films on your own.
No, I saw I saw more than that.
Really? You've been a busy...
Four.
Yeah,
Just one more,
busy,
I guess. But
busy beaver.
Yeah. So I saw a couple movies. I'll just go down the list in the order that I saw them. The first one was, I think I mentioned this before, like I do the Mike Lee screenings every Sunday. Love the guy. Great filmmaker. I went last Sunday to go see his first film ever, Bleak Moments, and it sucked. It was horrible, and it was really, really boring. Interesting to see how he kind of evolved as a filmmaker, though, but my God, was that a hard one to get through. Do not recommend if this is showing near you. He makes much better movies. So Bleak Moments for me is going to get a 3 out of 10. I'm just going to get that one out of the way real quick. Can
I interject something? Just a question for you.
Yeah.
So Mike Lee, a director who you highly recommend, you see his first film, and he's got a huge body of work. You love a lot of his later films, and you see his first film, and you go, "This was not good." It was his first film. He's going to grow. He's going to learn. So you have those directors who come out and they don't make a very good movie. Maybe the first 2 or 3 are not great, but then they work and they become better writers, better directors, and then they are making great film and great film and great film and great film. And then you have some directors who go, "This is my first film, and it's a huge hit." It's like it's like a M. Night Shyamalan, Boom, The Sixth Sense. Who is this guy? Great film. And then their films get worse and worse and not so good and not so good and not so good and not so good. So what's I don't even know what my question is, but what's the story there?
Progressing over time is, I think, a far better look than getting worse.
So let's say
that shows growth.
Let's say you made a film. Would you want that movie to be a huge blockbuster that blows up and puts you on the map and gets you a multi-picture deal? Or would you be like, "Man, I'm so glad my first film sucked because now I got my shitty one out of the way. There's nowhere to go but up." You know what I mean?
I'd rather the shitty stuff out of the way first. I think. And I have made. I'm going at film school. I have made films, and I've definitely made films that have sucked. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, Bleak Moments.
Not good.
Really, really incredibly slow. I guess comedy.
Ooh.
But yeah. But speaking of, but like I said, it's so weird because this next movie, Meantime, stars Tim Roth, Gary Oldman, many other famous British actors, and rocks. It's amazing. And speaking of Tim Roth, I also actually went back and saw Tim Roth's first ever movie. Made in Britain, directed by Alan Clark. It's Tim Roth as a troubled 16-year-old skinhead living in Britain and going through the, I guess, I won't call it foster care, but I guess the system they have in place for troubled teenagers who don't really have a place to go.
What's the name? What's the name of that one?
It's called Made in Britain.
It's
called Made in Britain.
And who directed that?
Alan Clark. He never really blew up. He did a couple of smaller British films, Elephant, Scum. But yeah, really, really great performance from Tim Roth right off the bat. I mean, he really is one of the most talented actors of our generation. I think I love Tim Roth, and he plays this character to a T. I think that he really is the saving grace of this movie. I did like it a lot, but he really is the star of it. As far as it goes, it's very low budget, made for TV movie, but I appreciate what the filmmakers were able to do with this.
And that was called Meantime.
No, Made in Britain. Meantime is Tim Roth's second movie that Mike Lee directed.
Gotcha.
But which is funny because in that movie his character wants to be a skinhead, so it's almost like it goes full circle. I'm gonna give Made in Britain a 7. I enjoyed it, didn't love it, but it definitely showed promise for Alan Clark and
you've seen a lot of skinhead movies.
I have. I realized that. I was watching.
Do I need to be afraid of anything, or is anything?
No, definitely not.
Sure?
But it's just for some reason they just pop up a lot in British. It's because I think I've watched a lot of movies lately about the Margaret Thatcher era of politics, and that was kind of a prominent
punk
then.
rock and
yeah. Well, punk rock kind of, but So yeah, those were kind of the two I guess smaller movies that I saw this week. I also went to see Coraline for its anniversary. They did a small re-release with some bonus content beforehand.
Was it worth the bonus content?
It actually was. It was really insightful. It was all behind the scenes stuff. It was like before the movie started, they did like a whole like interview with the director, kind of thing talking about how they made it. You know, like it's crazy. I mean, every day they come in and they'd be lucky to get 4 seconds of the movie out, and by the end of the day, which is just wild to me.
Right. Coraline is a for those who don't know, stop animation film. Is it a kids' film? Was it? It's kind of in the vein of Nightmare Before Christmas, right? I mean,
it is a kids' film. It could be a kids' film, but it is very disturbing. I guess it's like I said, it's got that Nightmare Before Christmas type feel. It's the same director. That's
Tim
God,
Burton.
my phone just completely. I can't look at anyone who's on the thing because my phone just bricked. But
Tim Burton, right?
No, Tim Burton did not actually direct Night Before Elm Street. Not Night Before Elm Street. Night Before Christmas.
He didn't direct Freddy Krueger.
I'll tell you who did though. He produced it.
He produced it, huh?
The person who directed it was Henry Selick, who also did Coraline and
Gotcha.
a bunch of other stuff.
Gotcha.
But I love Coraline. I like Coraline more than I like Nightmare Before Christmas because it's not a musical. But yeah, shout out to Coraline. Really great movie. Very, very, very technically impressive. And I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8. Give that an 8.
All right.
Yeah, and then my last movie that you actually caught the tail end of.
Yeah, I watched like the last 15 minutes of this with you.
I was recommended this by a coworker of mine. We were sharing our favorite movies, and I said if you watch one of my favorite movies, then I'll watch one of yours. I recommended him La Haine, and he recommended me a movie called I Saw the Devil, a movie by South Korean filmmaker Kim Ji-woon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It stars the same guy who was in Oldboy. It stars Oldboy, for those who have heard of or seen that movie, as well as I'm sorry, I'm going to be butchering these names. Lee Byung-hun, who was in a lot of American movies as well. He was in the Magnificent Seven, a bunch of G.I. Joe movies. I believe smaller roles, but still. It tells a story of a man or I guess not a man, a detective whose wife is murdered by a serial killer.
You can be a man and a detective at the same time.
You can be. I just want to be more specific. That's a good, yeah.
No, not a man. Not a man. I meant a detective.
Not a man. I meant a detective. Very detached. But yeah, a detective whose wife is murdered by this crazy serial killer, and he basically spends the rest of the movie tormenting his wife's killer in a horrific manner. Very, very graphic, heavy content warning for, I mean, everything in the book: sexual assault, murder, violence against women. I think it's very, very dark.
I think I turned to you after I watched the last 15 minutes with you, and I said, "What is wrong with your?"
I know. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But
this is your.
You missed the worst parts too.
Oh,
like
really?
You think what you saw was bad? Like the beginning was pretty violent.
Yeah,
and graphic.
it seemed a little over violent for me for just no particular reason. But what did you? What do you get?
I did think so as well. I did. It was definitely over violent, but the performances in this movie were incredible. Both of the lead men were just amazing in this, and all the supporting casts were great as well. It is based off of a book, so I'll be curious to see how much is strayed away from the source material. But overall, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid movie. Not crazy about it. Just a little too graphic for my taste. I think it's maybe a more tasteful way of doing it. But yeah.
Do you
Good ending too. I forgot to mention that the ending was the best part. I think it ended on a very good note.
You have completely frozen up on my end.
I was gonna say you just froze for me too. Am I back now?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay, good. You okay? That's good.
It must be a plane flying overhead or something like that.
Yeah, it must be.
It happens. So basically, I went and saw a bunch of commercial movies that people may actually watch. You saw a bunch of art house films that people don't even know where they can find them.
And Coraline.
Oh, and Coraline.
Yeah, that was my one like little happy film in the midst of all the crap, I guess.
On behalf of the PGM podcast, I do want to take this moment to apologize for Jackson's bed not being made in the background. That's hopefully you throw a quilt
I'm moving
over
out.
it,
I'm moving out soon, so everything's a little messy.
Which means that when we return in 2 weeks after our 1 week hiatus, you'll be in a brand new set that we haven't seen before, in a brand new,
never before seen set,
brand new dorm room, back with your film cohorts. Which class are you most looking forward to this semester? Is there one you're like, Would it be the 6 feet one? Or?
I am really excited for the 6 feet under class, unironically, because I kind of took this semester to kind of get the film. I have to take basic film classes like cinematography, editing, things like that. And last semester was kind of my way of being like, hey, like I'll take a class of the things that I want to take, or I'm interested in film wise. And this semester is kind of the I guess the scraps of that. So I'm taking a directing and a sound class, both things that I'm personally not interested in doing, but those will definitely be interesting to take anyways. But I am taking a 6 feet under course this semester that I'm very excited for.
That's the TV show, the HBO show.
HBO show. It's 6 feet under and talking about death, I believe, is the full title of the class, and taught by the same guy who taught my class about Black Mirror last semester. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah.
Wow, look at you. And what kind of posters will you be seeing behind you? Are there new posters we can look forward to?
A lot of never before seen posters. I got a lot of posters.
Oh.
I got one for my birthday. I got a couple from the movie theater that I worked at.
Wow.
A lot from vinyl records that I just haven't had a spot to put up yet.
Yeah.
So
this is exciting.
Stay tuned. Some crazy posters coming to
soon. A whole new set. Look at you.
A blank slate. Yeah.
Yeah. We will be back in 2 weeks. 3,000 Years of Longing, The Invitation, maybe Jaws, maybe something called Honk for Jesus, and we're going to try to find time to watch The Phantom of the Paradise.
Can we find that on streaming, by the way? Did you check?
Young Jackson, can you get on that right now? While he's looking
before we solidify this, I'm going to check.
I would assume there's got to be somewhere to watch The Phantom of the Paradise. It's a Brian De Palma film.
My phone's just completely bricked.
Well, that's what it is. It's what
happens. No, I got it. Hold on.
It's all good. You know what? We got to bring back trivia pretty soon. Maybe not next time because we're settling into one thing, but trivia will make its way back. Also, I think that coming this fall, along with our movie reviews and turning to you guys for classics and bad classics, we might start visiting some of our top 10 lists. So
I'm very excited for that.
We may start putting some top 10
You can rent
lists.
it on Amazon.
Oh, very good. We'll rent that on Amazon then. It might be time. Now, these might be some very obscure top 10 lists. We'll play around with a little bit, but we might turn to you guys for suggestions. Probably what we'll do is we'll post something that says, what is your number one, I don't know what the category, best Harrison Ford movie of all time, and then we'll put together what your guys' picks of the top 5 or 10 are, and then him and I put our top 5 or 10 together, and then we'll argue about it. And I'll be right, and everyone else will be wrong, and we can all come to agree.
Right, yeah.
Then that's the way to be. Of course, I'll pick a top 10 list one week, and I'll say, this week, Jackson, let's do top 10 teen comedy romps. And then you'll be like, my choice for a top 10 list is the top 10 Hayaki Miyazaki films that do not
I would not do that to you. Don't do that to me. I would not do that. I'm not that. Listen, I'm at least self-aware. I might be a little pretentious sometimes, but I would never force that upon you.
Right. Well, maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
You've made me watch a couple things. All right. Anything else, buddy?
I made you watch a couple of things.
Best of luck to you moving in this week. I'm not going to be there.
Thank you, and best of luck to you for, I guess, surviving in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Still don't know why you do that, by the way. I would love to know one day, but there's just nothing about... As someone who hates camping so much...
Yes, I hate it.
You're basically camping, but with less things.
Well, I'm not really camping because we don't really sleep. You're racing and moving. Like if someone...
That's worse. That's so much worse. At least that's like it's like camping, except like you don't sleep and you're physically exerting yourself, and there's no like food.
There's
technically,
exhaustion and yeah. Anything to get me out of the house from you guys, buddy. Anything it takes.
Fair enough. Right. Hey, we're in the same camp. We're getting out at the same time. It's okay.
Please follow my son on Instagram and TikTok at Jackson N. Burns.
Instagram and Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter, that is. Instagram and Twitter. I'm on Instagram at Regan.Burns. And, of course, as always, please like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as our Instagram and our TikTok. and drop us comments about anything. How good I look, how bad Jackson looks. I got my new ring light, so I don't feel quite as yellow this week.
That is good.
Now I just look red and blotchy. But
so let me ask you something. When I move out, we might have brought this up last episode, but when I move out, are you going to move back into my room, or are you going to stay down there?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should. I mean, this is kind of a boring little set here. Yours is so colorful, and you got David.
Are you
Bowie
going to find a totally new spot that we don't even know about?
I think I might do it from the toilet.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good.
And as you know, this is usually about the length of time I spend on it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Spread the word. Watch us on YouTube. Listen on Spotify and all other podcasts. And we'll be back at you real soon. Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
I do.
Bye, guys.